Lesson 3.6, Compound Inequalities. Your objective for this lesson is to be able to solve and graph inequalities containing the words and or. A compound inequality consists of two distinct inequalities joined by the word and or the word or. Similar to a compound sentence. So example 1, they want you to write an inequality that represents the phrase, all real numbers greater than -2 and less than 6. So all real numbers, we're going to give x greater than -2 and less than 6, x less than 6. The better way to write that is to take your variable and you put it in the middle of your inequality. You put the smaller number on the left and the bigger number on the right, and then you put your inequality symbols in the correct direction. So if x is greater than -2, that means my inequality symbol is going to go that way. And then if x is less than 6, my inequality symbol is going to go that way. So my answer for example 1a is -2 less than x less than 6. Then they ask you to graph it. So make sure you fit both numbers on the number line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If there is no equal sign under the inequality, it's an open circle. So that's an open circle on -2 and 6. Then you shade in the direction of all the numbers that are both greater than -2 and less than 6. So those are the numbers between the two. Okay, example 1b. All real numbers that are less than 0 or greater than or equal to 5. And or, you actually put the word in there. So x less than 0 or x greater than or equal to 5. And then you graph it on the number line. That's going to be an open circle on 0 and a closed circle on 5. You're going to shade the numbers that are less than 0 and or greater than 5. And you have both shaded areas on the graph. Alright, down to solving a compound inequality involving and. What you're going to do for an and is you are going to take your inequality and you're going to split it up into two. So I'm going to write -3 less than or equal to m minus 4. Then also write m minus 4 is less than -1. What goes in the middle is actually for both inequalities. Then you just solve two separate inequalities. So you're going to add 4, and you get 1 is less than or equal to m. Then you add 4, and you get m is less than 3. You can then take your inequality and put it back together. 1 is less than or equal to m less than 3. And then graph it. So here's 1. We're going to put a closed circle on 1 and an open circle on 3. And we're going to shade between the two because those are both the numbers that are both greater than 1 but less than 3. Okay, got it, number 2. Pause the video, do this one on your own, and I'll show you the answer in just a second. Alright, you want to split your inequality up so it's two separate inequalities. -2 less than 3y minus 4, and 3y minus 4 is less than 14. Take what's in the middle and use it twice. Then you solve it, so we're going to add 4. We get 2 is less than 3y. Divide both sides by 3, so 2/3 is less than y. On the right hand inequality, we're going to add 4, and we get 3y is less than 18. Divide both sides by 3, and we get y is less than 6. You can then take your inequalities and put them together, so 2/3 less than y less than 6 is your answer. Then when you graph it, two-thirds is going to be an open circle 2/3 of the way between 0 and 1, and then another open circle on 6, and then we shade between the two because it's an and. Always double check and make sure that shading between the two is going to answer your question though, because sometimes ands are shaded different ways. So this number has to be greater than 2/3 but also less than 6, and that is between the two. Example 3, writing and solving a compound inequality. They say to earn a B in your algebra course, you must achieve an unrounded test average between 84 and 86. Inclusive, that's an important word. You scored 86, 85, and 80 on the first 3 tests. What possible scores can you earn on the 4th and final test to earn a B in the course? So, you're going to set up your inequality. Take all of your grades that you have so far, 86 plus 85 plus 80 plus B, and divide it by 4. I know so far you have only 3 tests, but you're going to have a 4th test, so you have to add a 4th test that you don't know, make it a variable, and divide by 4. And that has to be greater than or equal to 84 or less than or equal to 86 to earn a B in the course. Your test average. Inclusive means you put an equal sign underneath the inequality. To solve this, what I would do is take your 3 tests you already have and go ahead and add them together instead of having to write them over and over again. And I get 251. So I'm going to write 84 less than or equal to 251 plus B over 4. And then I'm going to write 251 plus B over 4 less than or equal to 86. Because what I'm doing is taking my compound inequality and I'm splitting it up into 2 different ones. So then you multiply both sides by 4 and you get 336 less than or equal to 251 plus B. Subtract 251 and you get an 85. So I'm going to write that up here. B has to be greater than or equal to 85. See, its B was on the right hand side, and you see you have a less than or equal to, you just turn everything around so it's greater than or equal to 85. You're going to solve the right hand inequality the same way. So 86 times 4 minus 251, you get 93. So B has to be less than or equal to 93, which means you can score anywhere between 85 and 93 inclusive. Got it, number 3, I'm going to do with you. Suppose you scored 78, 78, and 79 on the first 3 tests. Is it possible for you to earn a B in the course? So your test average has to be between an 84 and an 86 inclusive. So I'm still going to do 84, and we're going to do 78 plus 79 plus B over 4, and then less than or equal to 86. We're going to do it the same way we just did the other one. So I'm going to go ahead and add 78, 78, and 79, and that gives me 235. over 4. Instead of writing all the 70s down, I went ahead and added those together so I didn't have to write them so many times. Now I've split my inequality up, this over here and this over here, and I'm going to solve it. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 4, and I get 336. Subtract 235 from both sides, and I get 101. On the right hand side, I'm going to do the same thing, multiply both sides by 4, and I get 344. Subtract 235, and it says that I'm going to have to score between a 101 and a 109 on my test to be able to have a B in the class. So the answer to that is no, because it says that 100 is the maximum grade you can make. So the answer is no, because I'd have to score above a 100 to get a B. Alright, example 4, compound inequalities involving OR. With these, you're just going to solve two separate inequalities in the same problem. These are very much easier than the other ones to students. So we're going to subtract 2. We get 3t is less than negative 9. Divide both sides by positive 3. So t is less than negative 3. Again, we're going to subtract 5. We get negative 4t less than negative 4. Divide both sides by negative 4. So we turn our inequality around and we get t is greater than 1. And when we shade it, we just shade both of them on the same line. So I'm going to do it with different colors so you can see. We're going to put an open circle on negative 3 and shade to the left. Then we're going to put an open circle on 1 and shade to the right. And that whole, I know they're shaded in two different colors, but the whole thing's your answer. Alright, got it, number 4. Try this one on your own, and I'll give you the answer in just a second. Okay, you're going to subtract 7, and you get negative 2y less than negative 6. Divide both sides by negative 2, so your answer should be y is greater than positive 3. Then you're going to subtract 3 from both sides, and you get 4y less than or equal to negative 8. Divide by positive 4, and you get y is less than or equal to negative 2. So I'm going to put an open circle on 3 and shade to the right. Then I'm going to put a closed circle on negative 2 and shade to the left. Okay, the last thing we're going to learn is interval notation. And interval notation uses 3 special symbols. There's the parentheses, and you use those when you have less than or equal to symbol, and that's the where it's not included. Endpoints are not included. That's going to be open circles. Then you've got brackets. That's when you have less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. That's when the endpoints are included. And that's also when you have closed circles on the number line. Then you have a new thing, infinity. You have a positive infinity and a negative infinity. And that's when the interval continues forever. Positive infinity is when the interval continues forever in a positive direction, and negative infinity is where it continues forever in a negative direction. Okay, so how do we use this interval notation? Sometimes they'll give you an inequality and you're going to put it on a graph. So that's greater than or equal to 2. So I'm going to just do 3 numbers just to save time. We'll do a closed circle on 2 and shade to the right. Interval notation for the closed circle is going to be a bracket on 2, and then it goes forever to the right, so it's going to go to positive infinity. You always use parentheses with positive infinity or negative infinity. Okay, x is less than 2. We're going to put an open circle on 2 and shade to the left. You read the number line from left to right, so see how it goes forever in this direction? We're going to say negative infinity, and then an open circle, so a parentheses on 2. 1 less than x less than or equal to 5. We have to have 1 and 5 on the number line. We're going to put an open circle on 1 and a closed circle on 5, and it's an and, so we're going to shade between. Now, we have an open circle on 1, which means we give a parentheses to 1. We have a closed circle on 5, so we give it a bracket. Okay, the last one, we have to go from interval notation to the inequality. So I've got negative infinity to negative 3. So my endpoint is going to be negative 3, but it's going to get a closed circle, an open circle because it has parentheses. Then I'm going to go all the way to 4 and put a closed circle for the bracket and shade to positive infinity. Then write my inequality down. I go from x is less than 3 or x is greater than or equal to 4. Example 5, using interval notation. What is the graph of bracket negative 4 to 6 parentheses? How do you write it as an inequality? So if I graph it, I'm going to put a bracket on negative 4, which is a closed circle, and I'm going to go all the way to positive 6 and put an open circle, and it's the interval between the two, so I'm going to shade between them. Then they asked for the inequality. That's an and. So negative 4 is going to go on the left, less than or equal to x, less than 6. For B, that's an or. The number line is going to have a closed circle on negative 1. We're going to shade to the left. And then it's going to have an open circle on 2. We're going to shade to the right, and my interval is going to have negative infinity to negative 1 bracket or 2 parentheses to positive infinity. Okay, try got it number 5, A and B, and then I'll go over it in just a second. Okay, the number line is going to have an open circle on negative 2 and a closed circle on 7, and you're going to shade between. And as an inequality, that's going to be an and, negative 2, less than x, less than or equal to 7. The number line for B is just going to have an open circle on 7, and you're going to shade to the right. And in interval notation, that's going to be parentheses 7 to positive infinity parentheses. Okay, here's your 3 got it questions. Show all of your work, and put it on a separate sheet of paper. Bring it to me tomorrow for proof that you did your homework.